Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back on the updates 1.93 dev server, and it's time to have a look at the new naval vehicles that are coming to the game in updates 1.93. The first one we're having a look at is the first rank 5 vehicle that is coming to America, and it is the USS Pensacola, or the CA-24. This is the first heavy cruiser that the Americans are getting as well, and it definitely comes in packing a hell of a punch. The first fact is that it has two sets of dual 8 inches. Then it has two sets of triple mounted 8 inches. You can see 5 on the back, 5 on the front. Then it has access to two sets of dual mounted 5. It has access to 8 turrets with 5 inches attached, which are AA cannons, and then 2 sets of quad mounted 1.1 inches, or the Chicago piano as they're known, which are mounted on the front of the machine in these two positions. So the actual main armament is quite substantial, but the secondaries are not looking too strong. Only 8 5-inch guns set in 2 sets of 4, so you've got the 4 here and then the 4 on the front, and of course the typewriters right here along with the main guns. It also has 2 smoke funnels that you can see along with the engine decks, which are right here. The armor values on the Pensacola are also nothing to really write home about. 100mm protects all of the ammunition that is sat in these bays for the main guns on the front. So 101mm, the center is 76.3mm, and the back is only 88.9. So you actually have less armor protecting this area here with the ammunition in the back than you do the front. But you do have these nice little areas around the place, 19.1mm and 19.1mm for the ammunition to get up to the guns. And the guns themselves, the face of them is 63.5mm, the sides being 19.1mm, and the top being 38.1. So there isn't a ton of armor on this machine, especially when we compare it to, let's say, something like the Hipper, but there is, it's there in little spades. It also has this 38.2mm belt on top of the 76.3, and also this one here, the 38.1, to stop damage spreading hard. The other thing to also note is the 8 inches have access to a HE shell as a standard. Then you get an APC shell, which pens 4, 48, 360, 154. Then another HE with base fuse shell, then a high explosive variable time fuse shell for the 5 inches, and another 8-inch shell which is SAPBC with 374, 332, 137, which has much more explosive mass, 4.7 kilos, compared to the 1.65 of the initial one. You also get, for the 5 inches, your standard round is a time fuse, whereas the upgraded round is a variable time fuse, and you can't change the 28mm or the 12.7s. The 12.7s being something I completely forgot about, because there is only 4 of them on this machine, so they're not, they're not going to make a huge difference, at least compared to all of the other massive guns that are on it. Being the top of the tech tree, though, this is the crown jewel right now of the American tech tree. The next vehicle to have a look at is the USS Helena. The Helena is a top-tier premium. Now, I am going to talk about this probably in a future video, but I will just say right now, as we're talking about this, I disagree with the idea of having a 5.7 premium in the game for ships. I think, personally, having a complete top-tier premium in the game is bad for the game, but anyway, let's get on to it. So the Helena is a Brooklyn-class light cruiser. This means that it's very similar to the Brooklyn that you'll be used to in the tech tree that you can find here. The general differences are in secondary armaments. So the Helena has 5 sets of triple mounted 6-inch guns, 4 sets of dual mounted 5-inch guns, 4 sets of quad mounted 40mm Bofors, and then 12 sets of 20mm. So the difference between the Brooklyn and it is that the Brooklyn has 4 more of the 5 inches, and it also has 8 of the 12.7s, but what it doesn't have is the 16 40mm and the 12 20mm that are sat on this machine. This thing's AA power is through the roof. on top of the fact that it also has the main guns. So this is just insane. Like, the Helena, in my opinion, is just better than the Brooklyn, and that is also a problem with the ship premiums in general. The premiums are better than the standard tech tree ones. But if you're used to the Brooklyn, you'll be used to the Helena. The Helena will have a great fire rate, so it will be able to do a ton of damage. And there's actually something interesting that you can do with the Helena that I'll just show now. If you actually use Synchronized Fire on your machine, what you can do is you can keep continuously firing with the guns with this machine. And this is obviously something that you can do with the Brooklyn. And the Brooklyn being very much a meta vehicle for the length of time that it has because of its rate of fire. So here we go using Synchronized Fire. You can see firing all of the guns, not at the same time, but all by themselves. You can keep just a continuous state of fire going with all of the guns, which is just insanity, showing that when you actually, reload the last gun, the first one is ready to fire. So if you really want to lay down a base of fire on whatever you're firing at, you can do incredibly simply. And just to give you an idea of the AA power of these guns as well, you have, of course, all of the 40mm, you have the 20mm as well, and that's not even, discounting the, the 5 inches on the side. Now, I don't know why they are not making any noise. They were making some noise before, so it might be an issue that I'm personally having. Yeah, it might just be a problem with the game files. Well, the problem that I'm personally having, but you can see the AA file. Look at that. Look how disgraceful that is. And that's not even using the best rounds for it. My God, you're just not going to be able to get near this machine. It's going to be insane. The next set of vehicles are 2 German destroyers that are coming into the game. First one being the Type 1934A from 1944. This has access to 4 127mm on it, 6 sets of dual-mounted 37mm, 2 sets of dual-mounted 37s, a 20mm, and of course a Quad 20, which we all love, sat on the back right here. So from an AA point of view, or from a secondary armament point of view, the Type 1934A has a lot of guns available to it, which is great. It also has these weird and wonderful smoke funnels that you can see here, kind of look very much futuristic compared to what we've seen, and also the engine blocks, which look very well detailed compared to some of the other ships. And then the armor doesn't really have any, so good luck being able to stop and your rounds coming in. It is coming in at 4.0 though, so that is something that is nice. The modifications show that, as usual, the problem with stuff like this is that there's no AP rounds. So it has access to a HE to start off with, then a HE with a base fuse, then a HE with a timed fuse. The secondary loadouts, it can actually carry torpedoes as well. That's we can see right here. If we stick them on, it has 2 sets of 8 torpedoes. So that is also a lovely thing to see. And I wish it just showed them, to start with. It also has access to 4 depth charges, but I still can't find a use for depth charges. And it also has a bomb mortar for some reason on the front of it, or at least somewhere. I have no idea why it has a bomb mortar, but it just does. Because why not, Why not have the bomb mortar? So very similar to some of the other German destroyers we have, but at least it's nice to add it to the progression system. The next one is the Type 1936B that you see right here. And once again, very similar to some of the other brothers that you see in the German tech tree. The Type 1936B sits at 4.3 though, and that's probably because it has one main extra gun. It has 5 127mm, 2 sets of dual 37s, 3 sets of quad 20mm, and 2 sets of 20mm. So 3 sets of quad 20mm is definitely something to write home about. One is sat on the back here, then you have access to 2 near the front. So good luck any small ships being near this thing or small boats being near this thing, and good luck to aircraft trying to get close to it as well. Has 2 sets of smoke funnels from the engines in the bottom, and no armor once again really for this apart from on some of the main guns. Has access to once again only HE, same shells. The only AP available is on the 37 and an only Pen 65. but it does get access to, once again, some torpedoes in the form of right here and here. So 8 torpedoes in total. It should be very much a serviceable destroyer, just will have the same problem as a lot of the destroyers do, where it'll be okay against destroyers, but once it goes up against cruisers, it'll get eaten. The Soviets do not have anything new for naval. The British do, though. They actually have the same issue as the Americans do. So the Americans, having the premium Helena, which is sat right here at 5.7, the British have the HMS Belfast, which is just a slightly different or slightly better version, depending on how you want to see it, of the HMS Southampton. So now the British have a premium naval light cruiser at the highest BR in the game. So the HMS Belfast, being a town class cruiser, has access to 4 triple stacks of 6-inch guns, 4 dual mounts of 4-inch guns, and 6 dual mounts of 40mm. So this thing isn't messing around when it comes to the 40s. 12 overall, all over the place. You can see them in turrets around this. So once again, a very big focus on AA fire for this light cruiser. The difference between it and the Southampton, as you can see, lies in the tertiary weapon department, or the anti-air department, whereas the Southampton has 2 quad mountings of 40s and 2 quad mountings of 12.7s. The Belfast only has the 6 40mm dual sets. So it could definitely be argued that the Southampton is actually better than the Belfast, so it's in a much better position than the US one. It's still a top tier premium, though, just not as annoying because of the fact that it doesn't get access to stuff like torpedoes. It doesn't get access to some of the other secondary armaments that the Southampton has. But with these 4 sets of triple mounted the Mark 23 guns, it does get access to AP. So you've got the HE shell, which pens 72, 62, 37, CPBC with 203, 180, 74, and the HE with time fuse 72, 62, 37. 102s also get some AP, the SAP 137, 118, 52, with the HE shell being standard 36, 31, 20. The upgrades for the shells are rank 1 and rank 2 modifications, so that's a hell of a lot better than being rank 3 and rank 4, but it's still kind of annoying that, you know, they are something that you have to research. Well, you don't have to for the Belfast, but, you know, this has the same guns as the Southampton, so you do have to research them on the Southampton. You can see here the absolute monstrosity that is the Belfast, and the guns themselves actually turn pretty well, and you can see the 40mm going to work, and also the other secondary armaments that are available. They will do a ton of damage to whatever they touch. You can see that they are pretty much just annihilating anything that's around them. And just to show you the power of the main guns, if you haven't seen them before, let's just set this up. There is no Japanese new boats which seem to be coming in, which is kind of sad, but, you know, maybe with time. With Synchronized Fire on, you can see the wonderful shooting of the main caliber guns for this machine. Doesn't have the same reload as something like the Brooklyn-class, so, you know, you can't get the whole Synchronized Fire going, but you can still, you know, get a lot of shots off at the same time. So that is basically the Belfast with all of its bells and whistles. That is the main, or all of the ships that are on the first update 1.93 dev server. I'm sure we'll see more stuff in the future, but there is just a ton of vehicles which are coming in at the high tiers for the game. So, you know, the Pensacola being the new top dog, Helena, of course, being a really nice premium to have. The Belfast, which is also a top tier vehicle, and of course the 2 destroyers. So no lower tier stuff, but then again, we did just get, you know, the Japanese tree pretty, you know, a little bit of time ago, so that has quite a lot of low tier stuff in it as well. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, Elove Goat, and Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.